Good morning. Hi. Hope you're all well. Great to see you. If you're watching this video later on, great to see you as well. Thanks for taking the time. Here we go. First one here. Is that Lee? Is that Mary and Lee? I think it is. Mary, I think you change your profile picture just all the time. It's like a game for me now. I'm going to try and figure out if it's you. But I think that's you. Yes, you come up now saying it's Mary. Good morning. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Are you alright? Just you so far, Mary, but we're gonna just give it a couple of minutes as we usually do, just to give people a chance to tune in. Bernie says hi to Joya. He's here, look. You can see him playing with his bone. This bit of the devotion's a bit like that, you know, when you're in a conversation with somebody and you don't know what to say, and there's like an awkward kind of just two long pauses in between things you're saying until the people come. Okay, here we go. We got Barbara, we got Ruth. Morning, ladies. Oh, there's a few more tuning in now. I was just saying, it's a bit like, you know, when you're in a conversation with somebody and you don't know what to say, though. I don't know if ever you find yourself in that position. I'm more of an introvert, so I struggle with conversations with people, and so I'm used to it. But I don't know if you felt the same way, but there's a little bit at the beginning where we're waiting for people to come in. It's a bit like that pause where you pause just a bit too long because you don't know what to say. It's a bit like that, and hence why I'm waffling and talking now, because I'm filling. Hi Sheila, good to see you. Just going to give it a couple more minutes just while it starts to fill in even more. I was also just saying it's a bit like a game, because I get the little profile picture up here in the corner before it tells me that you've tuned in. So I got like about 20 seconds to guess who's tuned in. Morning, Elaine. I can see Janine. You're just there on my screen. Elaine, you're smiling at me. There you go, I'll smile back. Just one more minute. I know a bit more usually tune in. Hiya, Claire. I bet Claire's been out in the garden, out in the hot tub. Alright, we've got a few more people here. Elaine, you're laughing at me or with me? I'll never know. Okay. So, just want to remind you tonight, and I bet you're sick of hearing this now, but tonight at 7:30 is the next one that we're looking at. We're getting towards the end of our Acts actually now. We'll be finishing that on Saturday with our mystery. That's right. Our mystery devotioner tomorrow. So just 2 more sessions of Acts, and we'll change it next week to something else in the evenings. So yeah, and also don't forget, Saturday tomorrow, mystery devotioner, tune in for that. Morning Joan, morning Matt, morning Sarah, morning Sean, morning Joan. Okay, everyone's tuning in now. Yeah, and obviously don't forget on Sunday that I've got church as usual at 11, but what's unusual about it, 2 things. The first thing is that, sorry, can you hear? This is what I have to put up with. I only have him in here because Leah's like doing homeschooling with the kids, so I feel bad for like chucking him in with them, but it makes it a bit difficult. But yeah, as usual, 11 o'clock, but 2 things are different. The first thing that's different is that we're not using the online platform, not using the Sheffield Christian Life Centre .online.church this Sunday. We're just using Facebook Live and YouTube Live. The reason for that is because most people are on Facebook. We're finding most people are connecting on Sunday through Facebook, and you can comment on the Facebook and connect with us that way and message the Facebook page. Also, YouTube, not so many on YouTube, but actually just slightly more than those who are on Church Online. And YouTube, you don't need any account of any kind. So similar to the Church Online stuff, you don't need an account to access it. So really, we're just kind of doubling up. What we're doing there. So yeah, Facebook and YouTube. I am going to kick this dog out, I think, because he's making... Can you guys hear him? Just let me know if he's incredibly noisy or if I'm just kind of overreacting. Someone let me know. Oh, he's barking now. He's going to go. Okay, 1 minute. I'm going to take you through the house, and you can give a wave to all the kids and everything. I'm just going to... Bernie, come on, boy. Here he comes. All right. Here we go. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Kids
Hi.
doing homeschooling.
Hi.
Okay, yeah, look at Ruben's bald head. Alright, anyway, that's that. I'm going to get rid of the dog now. Alright, because you're not tuned in to see my dog or my family, as lovely as they are. You've tuned in for the word. Alright, sorry if I made you a bit dizzy there. Okay, so we're still continuing looking at doubt. And I preached a message on Sunday about doubting Thomas, and this whole week we've looked at different aspects of doubt, different people who had doubt. And today I'm going to look at Elijah. Massive story in the Bible, huge story, really, really well known. If you've been in church for any length of time, you'll have heard someone preach on this passage of scripture. It's 1 Kings 19, if you want to follow it through. It says, now Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. So this is just straight off the back of Elijah doing this massive display. He challenges like all the baddies. Like there's 400 of these Baal worshipping prophets. There is the king and the queen who aren't serving God. They're serving Baal, and he's like one man against the world. And you can probably know the story that he gets them to build 2 altars, one for them, one for him. He gets them to dance around it all day and do all the stuff they always do. And he also he gets them just to go at it and go at it and go at it. And then eventually he says, okay, hasn't worked, has it? You know, your God's not called down fire and set your altar on fire. So now I'm going to pray to my God, and I'm going to make it really difficult by pouring water all over it so it shouldn't catch fire. And then he prays to God, and very simply, and boom, it happens. And everyone's amazed, and everyone is given proof that God, our God, is the real God, right? And then what happens is Elijah, being kind of so confident, he actually arranges the death of all these prophets of Baal that are leading the people astray. And then we come to this, right? So massive victory, and then we come to this. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, may the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them, meaning the prophets that he had killed. Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, and while he himself went a day's journey into the desert, he came to a broom tree, sat under it, and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. And he lay down under the tree and fell asleep. I want to just stop there for a minute, because this is what doubt can do to you. Doubt can lead you into despair and into discouragement. Elijah had just seen a massive miracle. Elijah had just seen God work through him and achieve something phenomenal. Not just something that affected him, but something that affected a nation. The Israelites were watching and they saw everything. What an incredible, incredible victory. And moments later, he's running for his life and he's sat down under a tree in the desert all alone and he's saying to God, I've had enough. I just want to die. And I guess what I wanted to bring out at this point is probably two things. One, things can change very, very quickly in our minds. When doubt creeps in, you can literally go from victory to despair in a day sometimes. I'm very much like that. I've mentioned this type of thing before, that I'm very much like that. I can go up and then down, and then up and then down. It's just how I am. But I think that's the case for everybody. I think we live for the victories and we hope for the victories and we get excited about the victories. But then after the victories are over, after Sunday's finished and you've got the rest of the week to face, after the come down, after Christmas is over and you've got all the debt, after the great thing has happened, the celebration, the victory, whatever it is, things can crash and just go down into despair and into discouragement. And this is where Elijah found himself, completely just doubting, having seen God do something through faith, an amazing thing through faith. He actually managed to call fire down and kill 400 prophets. He was worried about one lady called Jezebel. What a massive, turning of the tables. What a massive switch for Elijah to go from that to the other. And that's how sometimes it can happen with us. And we've got to be aware of that. We've got to protect ourselves against that. We've got to look out for that doubt to come in. We've got to look out for our emotions to come crashing down. We've got to be aware of the fact and protect ourselves of the fact that we are never, ever, ever safe from doubt unless we put things in place, unless we make sure that we keep our faith strong. The second thing I want to bring out of that little bit there is that he left his servant and went off on his own. And I think when it comes to doubt and discouragement and despair, I said you very, very, very much feel like you're on your own. In fact, you very, very, very much feel as if nobody else understands. It's actually how moaning starts when you think about it. We moan and complain to people. Why? Because we're hoping to have somebody in our life that understands our disappointment, understands our discouragement. Why? Because if we can get them discouraged as well, then they're going to join us. We're not going to be on our own anymore. Actually, because it leads to loneliness. We don't want to be on our own. We're people that want to be with other people. But when we're in discouragement and despair, we're very much on our own. Unless we can actually take our brain and put it into someone else's head and make them understand what we're going through, it feels very much alone. We have to guard against that. We have to guard against moaning and complaining because it does not achieve what we want it to achieve. It says, carrying on, it says, all at once an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." He looked around and there by his head was a cake of bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank and then lay down again. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, "Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you." So he got up and ate and drank. Strengthened by that food, he travelled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. There he went into a cave and spent the night. The word of the Lord came to him. "What are you doing here?" What are you doing here? It's very human, very natural for us to be discouraged and to be in despair and to doubt and to lose hope. It's kind of normal and natural. But yet God's saying to him, "What are you doing here?" You see, it's natural, but we live in the supernatural, right? We don't live for the natural. We're living in a higher level than the natural. The natural is below where we live. Why? Because we're supernatural. We're putting our faith in a supernatural God. We're putting our faith and our trust in him and his supernatural gifts. So we don't need to be doing what is natural to us, what is normal to us. We need to be saying, well, what does God expect of us? And here's God saying, what are you doing here? So I want to ask you today, if you're facing discouragement and despair, what are you doing there? God's asking you, what are you doing? You shouldn't be there. Get out of it. Do something about it. But don't live in that despair and that discouragement. He replies, as verse 10, I have been very zealous. So he starts to justify himself. For the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, broken down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too. The Lord said, go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood in the mouth of the cave. I want to just stop there for a second again. Elijah's seen some pretty amazing miracles in his life, but it was a whisper. It was a whisper that God spoke to him. I think when God needs to speak to us, it's personal and it's a whisper. I think, God, we can see some miraculous things in our life, but I think when God really wants to get through to us on a one-to-one level, it's just a whisper. And one of the greatest joys in my life, and I've mentioned this numerous times when preaching or hosting at church, that I've learnt these last couple of years in particular to listen for that really quiet whisper, that little bit of a prod. And what I've noticed, not every time, but a lot of the time, when I've acted on that little whisper, it's been right. That God's actually done something or said something or he's come through in some way, and it's meant something to me personally, but maybe even to other people. But the point I'm making is this: that I think that's how God likes to operate normally, just in that little quiet whisper, that prod, because it makes us lean in and try and listen and try and learn His voice. And as I started to be intentional about responding to that little voice, it didn't become any easier. It was still a risk. It was still a step of faith to respond to it. But what I've come to realise is that I notice it a heck of a lot quicker now. And I'm way more eager to just do it and to sack off any fear of looking stupid or saying something dumb. Just doing it and hoping and not even looking for the response. If it's a Sunday morning when I'm sharing a word, not even looking for response from people, because I'm just trusting that God's doing something. I don't need to hear back from people. That was for me. I just need to trust God that God's working on someone's heart, even if that's in private. God's working on their heart, and maybe that's the word for you right now. Maybe God's trying to get through to you, and you need to stop, be still, be at peace, and listen, and then act. And the more you act on that voice, the more you'll get to know it. He says, then a voice said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? He asked him again, why are you here? Why are you here in this place? Why are you in this emotionally? Why are you in this place? Despondent and in despair. He replied, I have been very zealous for the Lord. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, broken down your altars, and put your prophets to death by the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too. The Lord said to him, go back the way you came, and go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael, king of Aram. Also anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, king over Israel, and anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, from Abel Meholah, to succeed you as prophet. Jehu will put to death any who escape the sword by Hazael, and Elijah will put to death any who escape the sword of Jehu. Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal, and all whose mouths have not kissed him. The last little thing that I want to bring out of this before we bring this to an end is simply this. The reason why Elijah was doubting and in despair and in discouragement was because he couldn't see the bigger picture. And I think it's very, very easy for us when we're just focusing on ourselves, our life, how we feel, how hard done to we feel, that we forget that God is the God of the whole world. He's working all things round for good, not just your life, but all things round for good. And so quite often we can question God, why? Why has this happened? And when we're discouraged, why God? Why has this happened? I want to challenge you today to not ask God why, but to ask God how. So instead of saying, God, why are you doing this? I want you to ask God, how are you working in this? I want you to ask God what? I want you to ask God, what are you wanting to do in this place? What are you wanting to do in me? What are you wanting to do through me? Not why are you allowing this to happen, but what are you wanting to bring out of me in this? Never ask why. I asked why once for 6 months and didn't get an answer. But when I stopped asking why and started focusing on what I could do, God started to speak to me, and God started to build me up and encourage me and bring me out of my discouragement. I want to encourage you, stop asking why, ask what. And remember that God has the bigger picture. You don't have the bigger picture. You have absolutely no way of knowing what God is going to use your situation, the situation that you are discouraged about. You have no way of knowing how He's going to use that for His glory, for His good. Who knows, the pain you're going through right now may be to save someone from going through something similar in the future, to help someone to get through it. And maybe you've got to go through it without someone helping you. Guess what? Be blessed, because that means that God knows you can cope with it. It means that He knows, because someone's got to do it. Someone's got to walk through it on their own with, just with them and God. But then once that's done, you're in a better position to help someone else through that situation. I think I'm going to leave it there. I think it's already been about 20 minutes, so I'm probably over time. I hope that's encouraged someone, particularly if you're going through something, but hopefully that'll set you up in case you go through something in the near future, or even in this time while we're in this pandemic and things can be a bit worrying and a bit stressful being at home. I hope that's encouraged you. Don't forget tomorrow our mystery devotioner, tomorrow at 10 a.m. and 7:30. Also don't forget Sunday. Don't forget the prayer meeting on Tuesday night at 7:30. And those of you who came to the Bible school last night, it was brilliant. Dave did a fantastic job and it worked fantastic with Zoom. I want to encourage you, 2 weeks yesterday, so 13 days from now, will be the next Bible study. We're going to talk about just in the time, because Thursday night is the night we go out and clap for the NHS. We've got to make sure we do that. So if you was nipped out and did that quick and came back in, we don't want to pull away from that. So we're going to talk about that, but we'll confirm the time later in the week. But just to know, Thursday night is the Bible school in 2 weeks' time, and the prayer meeting on this Tuesday. All right, I've said enough. All right, thanks for joining me. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you soon.